How do I make sure that I get those customers in? How do I make it a predictable motion? And once they're in, how do I ensure that they grow in terms of revenue as well? It definitely can't be 100% in-house. It definitely has to be hybrid given the scale of content that's required. I think it's not going to die so soon because, hey, it's been a year and a half since ChatGPT came and I haven't seen like major disruption. Like what would be a more successful path for a marketer would be.
Hey there, welcome to Marketing Mavericks with Indiefolio. Today we have Vignesh Sairam with us, who's the head of growth marketing at the hyper-growth startup Plivo. Vignesh is an engineer turned marketer who spent a lot of time in some incredible SaaS companies like Freshworks, Clary, and of course now Plivo. We talk about growth marketing, talk about creating a B2B content marketing engine for growth, and a lot more. Thanks a lot for your time, Vignesh, and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Kavan. Thanks for having me.
So I appreciate you taking out the time. The first question I wanted to ask you is how do you decide that you want to build a career in marketing? If I'm not wrong, you studied engineering.
Yeah, it wasn't the most obvious choice, at least at that point in time when I graduated about 11 years ago. Marketing was a little known. It was either the big companies that used to hire from B schools or,
Mhm.
yeah,
Wow.
that's how it
That's
all
that's
started.
rare.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't hear that often. Tell me, why would you do this, right? I think you'll have family, friends, yourself who's committed to, let's say, engineering. For a lot of people who might be listening, right? They may be in a similar space. So how did you
Yep.
convince yourself and why would you do such a thing?
So I always wanted to get into the business side of things. So
Mhm.
in engineering, in the final semester, you get to choose different electives that are not necessarily engineering. So in our college, founder, the chancellor, he started something called as the canopy, which was a better version of the college canteen, right? And people who did the elective, people who got through the elective, it was more of a choice that you had to take. And obviously, being the chancellor, there are a lot of people trying to get into that elective, and there were like limited seats. So I didn't get through, but again, the concept was really interesting. I had taken another marketing elective as well, but I really loved what people were doing there, wherein they had to take care of the entire business, like bringing in people to the new canopy, and they walked me through on how they exactly do it, and the sales part of it, the marketing part of it, and all of that, and
Mhm.
that was really interesting. I took a very traditional marketing management elective, and that's how I happen to know about marketing and what exactly marketing is. That's one of the main reasons why I sided towards marketing as well, and I was really excited when a role like this came through.
Interesting. I wanted to ask you. There are so many people I've interviewed who've become marketing leadership. Huge chunk of them are engineers. Is there a reason engineers make great marketers?
uh, I don't think so. I think it's also because the fact that, at least in India, or at least in South India, people study engineering and then they figure out what they want to do. So could be one of the main reasons. But yeah, I think especially B2B SaaS, right? Given the tech nature of it, it probably doesn't come firsthand to people who haven't done engineering, because the products are pretty complex and you need to have a grasp of tech and engineering. That would give you a head start. It's not like a prerequisite or something, but this would definitely give you that added advantage. And more frankly speaking, people from non-engineering backgrounds find this boring. So that's why we didn't get a lot of marketeers, at least in India at the beginning. But now things are really good. I mean, the overall ecosystem, at least in SaaS, has really grown.
Interesting. No, I think that's definitely an important part, how you're just habituated doing something. But would you say today that if you wanted to, let's say, get to a job and you get a person who's done engineering and is keen to explore marketing versus somebody who's done the MBA, gone
Yeah.
ahead and taken the effort to learn business and marketing and management, would that person have a higher chance of succeeding versus an engineer?
I mean, I haven't looked at it that way, to be brutally honest.
Right.
We have gone to both schools, be it just a grad school or for recruitment and B school. Obviously, when we go to a B school, the type of candidates that we see, they have a lot of knowledge. right? Like because this is probably their end goal. They want to sort of be a marketing leader, and that's one of the main reasons why they did an MBA. And so the knowledge that they come with is usually on the higher side, whereas someone from a grad school, they probably lack that knowledge, or they are a little on the confused side on, whether they should take up tech or whether they should, go into marketing. But yeah, I mean, I is the question if the question is more around who's more successful, I don't have an answer. I haven't seen it that way. But yeah, I feel we have success stories, or there have been success stories in my team as well. People who come from a marketing or an MBA background, or people who just come from grad schools. But these days I really see people creating a lot of content on Instagram and YouTube, and yeah, even people who are doing their engineering, or even in school for that matter, right?
Right.
It's not become a prerequisite right now, so we started removing it from our job descriptions that, hey, you need an MBA to get into a senior role. So yeah, that's where I feel things are headed.
When it comes to learning something and
Mhm.
doing a great job at it, right? How does one figure it out? Because at one end, we've got somebody like you who's done engineering, learned on the job, and I'm assuming beat a lot of typical marketeers,
Yeah.
in a bunch of positions. So how does something like that happen in a career of people, right? Where okay, you studied one thing, the
Yeah.
opportunity is something else. You love this aspect, but you've got no clue. You don't know jargons, you don't know processes. How does one learn that and get really good at that is, I think, the real question.
Yeah, I think if you come with an open mind, or a clean slate, I feel there is a lot of scope to learn, especially because you this is your first job and everything is focused towards that job. Whereas if you come with some experience, you come with some baggage, right?
Mm.
And it's very difficult to unlearn and then relearn. So I feel the learning path is pretty steep, but it is linear and easy if you don't have any experience and you come, because the systems that are set in companies to train marketeers is for mostly for people who are coming fresh, right,
Mhm.
and who don't come with a lot of baggage, because this is the way that the company has been operating so far. So when someone comes in, my style is to directly put them in critical business functions, even
Mhm.
inside marketing, and for them to figure out exactly how things work, right? So they get a good grasp of things, and hey, you know what, this is marketing, this is what we do, this is what the team is responsible for, how do we impact revenue and all of that. And on the other side, learning different channels, and how to do paid, how to do organic marketing, all of that. We have a pretty structured way of teaching them.
I get where you're coming from totally. I want to now jump into asking you about growth marketing, right? There's been this new title, which is pretty mystifying to a bunch of people, right? Like, what exactly is growth marketing? Because growth is in a way, such a vague word, right? Because you can grow everything in a way. I mean, everybody can grow something. So when somebody says I'm a growth marketer, or I want to become somebody and have a growth path in my career, like, what does that mean? How is it traditionally different from, let's say, marketing?
At least from a B2B or a tech marketing world, people were just focused on the old school marketing, which was, hey, we work with an agency, we create an ad, we put it out, we rent a banner in US 101, which is in San Francisco, and then we put an ad banner out, or we do a bunch of collateral for the sales team, right? So what started happening is the lack of accountability and ownership that marketers used to carry. So that's when the growth mindset sort of came, wherein, hey, what can we do? And obviously this playbook was pulled from the B2C world, wherein marketers lead a lot of revenue generating
Right.
function
Mhm.
case. So people who carry revenue goals and are focused towards growth and measuring things. So yeah, I think that's why it's more towards growth. So functions like brand, or product marketing might not directly fall under growth marketing. It would be more towards performance marketing, demand creation, and bit of content as well.
I want you to kind of unpack this a little bit further, because traditionally marketers say, my job is to get the customer to come to me, increase the revenue, get them to me to come again, retention, engagement, etc. So how is that different in growth marketing? Like, what, as a marketer, what do I have to do differently? Do I have to change my optics? Do I have to change my focus areas? If you could just share a little bit more about that.
I think it's to have direct accountability of all those and have direct impact. What I mean by direct impact is how do I make sure that I get those customers in? How do I make it a predictable motion? And once they're in, how do I ensure that they grow in terms of revenue as well? And
Mm-hmm.
what it is that I can do directly to impact that growth, right? And performance marketing is one area wherein there is existing demand, we capture it, we send that in either through Google Ads or through SEO, etc. The next is demand creation. So you create demand for not necessarily your brand but also for your category. If you've launched new feature, if you've launched a new product, how do you ensure that more people start talking about it, and how do you move people down the funnel? And having that measurement mindset, I think, I'm not too sure about B2C, but B2B, it was never really there. It was just that, hey, you know what, I'll bring in the visitors, or I'll increase the brand presence, I'll participate in events, in say the top events in the world. But it was never towards, okay, so how do I optimize the funnel? How do I bring users down the funnel? So from visitor to a lead or a sign up, and then how do I ensure that that sign up becomes a paying customer at the end of the day, and then that cycle sort of continues.
It's essentially more holistic in nature, where you're sitting on top of all these marketing functions, from awareness to consideration to maybe even loyalty and referral at the end of the whole spectrum. And you're trying to kind of make it into a growth model of sorts, where, as you said, certain input will come with certain predictable output, is what I'm assuming. I mean, there are some courses, I think, I've done one. There are some people teaching it, but like, how do I become a growth marketer? Like, let's say I did marketing, I've been doing marketing for 3 years, and I'm just making ads, or I'm just sitting and managing this creative team to make content, right? And I'm like, yeah, I want to do growth, I want more skin in the game, I want more holistic purview. What should be your next step for me?
I think it's to directly be part of any revenue generating functions, right? Like it
Mhm.
could be either from an, so there is outbound inbound models, right? Like outbound is when you do cold reach outs, and inbound is when people come in. So either an SDR sort of a role,
Mhm.
wherein people directly do cold outreach. Or I think what would be a more successful path for a marketer would be taking up performance marketing or SEO, right? Because that has direct impact, and it's much more tangible, it's much more short term. You can easily measure the outcomes as well out of them, and that way you also get to manage budget. You learn to manage a lot of budget. At the same time, you bring in something tangible, which is like a qualified lead, right? Like a qualified prospect. And you sort of take that goal as well to ensure that you bring in more every month, right? And that way you learn to sort of build that predictable engine. And then you have interactions with sales, and you get a lot of feedback, and you understand on how things work at their side. Once you've generated that lead, there are hand raisers on the website saying, hey, I'm interested. And then it goes on to sales, and then they do their own motion and of reaching out, and then onboarding them onto the product. And
Mm.
so you get to see the complete funnel has
Mm.
to offer. So I feel picking one small area, and given that this performance marketing is very closer to revenue, would be a great start for someone who wants to sort of come into growth marketing. Yeah. Yeah.
If you can prove to yourself and ideally to your company that you can do something needle moving, I think that's a
Correct.
good start for you to get that mindset, being
Correct.
developed, because often people are very away from revenue.
Yeah.
And especially in bigger companies, they're like, this is my job, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who unfortunately feel very uncomfortable towards the end of their career when it comes to growing, so I think
Growing.
that's a great
Exactly.
point.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I want to jump now into your domain, which is B2B SaaS. Actually, everywhere you've worked, right? arguably, what I'm going to say in a very honest manner is, like, yeah, everybody does the same thing in SaaS. Sometimes I feel, it's like, okay, there are 100 companies offering
Yeah.
the same things and at different price points, and they all have fancy landing pages, and it's it's very difficult for me as a SME sometimes to be like, yeah, who should I pick? Because everybody looks great. To be very frank with you, so I always wonder, as a marketer, differentiating myself is such a challenge, because at one end, I love people who say I'm a better Excel sheet, because then I completely understand, what exactly is that you do.
Yeah.
But then, how do you then differentiate yourself from your existing solution or your existing vendor or anything on those lines? So what's the right approach if you had to guide, let's say, a lot of B2B marketers here who are solving a particular problem? How do you differentiate yourself from competitors, especially when the sales motion is more DIY exploration versus enterprise buying committee kind of sales?
So here at Plivo, it's more of the latter, which is more upper mid market and enterprise. So there is a whole buying committee. But again, we also, because SMBs are directly going to look out for CRM software, right? So that's based on the data that we've seen so far. So could be different for different companies. Whereas someone who's looking for an alternate solution is exactly going to look for the alternate type of keyword. So that's how you can show differentiated experiences for different company sizes, right? And as you said, for enterprises, it's going to be a decision committee, so there are going to be like multiple different touch points, and it's not just one, right? Like, for example, we just onboarded or in the process of onboarding one major social media giant, right, to run their entire OTPs. They have visited our site 150 times since
Nice.
August, before they even signed up. Because they want to be so thorough. And these are like different people, right, in the company who have come to our site and who have visited. So we need to ensure that we cater to every persona, and how we bring them in, and it needs to be more high touch, wherein we need to talk about the problem that our feature is going to solve, rather than going and trying and selling the product directly. I think that's sort of how we look at things here, so that we cover people or prospects or customers across different company sizes. What I've seen a lot of companies do is they stick to one company size, so that they don't confuse prospects, because it becomes really tricky if, say, someone who's already used Salesforce as a CRM comes in and is a small player, right? And if you show like really fancy messaging, they're not going to come and sign up, right? That's why people have seen a lot of companies stick to one segment of customers that they like to call their ICP, and then slowly move up the ladder.
Understood. So I think figuring out your ICP and creating an entire communication and marketing plank based on what they want, I guess, is what you're saying is should be something people hyper focus on.
That's
Now,
right. That's right.
question to you is, everybody says get talk to your customers and find out these insights and what they want from you. In your experience, how should one go about it, right? Because this is such
Okay.
a feedback point now, which everybody says, okay, and founders go, they talk to three people,
Yeah.
okay, they
Yeah.
ask them two wrong questions, and they're like, this is what it is. So I've always wondered, how many people should I talk to? How many questions should I ask them? And how do I actually derive, what the ICP is for me? Is pretty challenging. And if I can just add one more example, I'll talk about it, Folio. We do creative. That means every company can use us, and they all have different needs, and they all are in a way lucrative.
Yeah.
So it was so hard for me in the first few years of the business to understand, because all clients are telling me, "Ha, we'll buy, we'll do it." The SMEs bought faster, but they
Yeah.
paid very less. The
Yeah.
bigger ones didn't trust me, but once they did, they gave me too much work. So there were pros and cons everywhere, and I was frustrated, saying, "Yeah, what do I do? Who do I really tap into?" So, is there any framework there? If you can give any advice to folks like me, would be awesome.
What I've seen happen when founders or even marketers talk to customers is, customers feel like, hey, I've been put in a spot. This is not my life. a significant portion of this probably goes into my tool. And for some products like ours, they just set it up once and then they forget about it, right? Like, because we just send OTPs, we facilitate OTPs and all of that. So they put in a spot and then they answer for the sake of it. So the first part of your question, and talking to customers and trying and understanding, I would say there are a lot of recorders right now that are available. I was with this company called Wingman, which got acquired by Clary, which used to record all sales conversations, transcribe them, and then give summaries of all these conversations. So we as marketers, we used to be there. We used to get aggregate information, because these are sales conversations that are happening, and we get data points from there on, hey, these are the different segments, what are their pain points, how many people are they talking to ensure that the deal goes through. By they, I mean the sales team, right? And what are the feature or the product pain points that they're going through, and why they want to either migrate or why they want to buy systems or products for the first time, right? I would like to say, I think it's easier, at least from a B2B SaaS persona, to tap into the second time buyers, meaning people who are mature, right, but are not like too big, right? So to identify that segment, what I mean by that is, say there'd be like 50 to 200 employees, right? So from a revenue standpoint, you get revenue, churn is not that high, and you are also able to build some sort of predictability into that, right? Their expectations are also not high. Probably they're moving because of lack of support from a bigger company, right? That is one way of it again, but that's a place where you are coming in as a new player and you are penetrating, right? And obviously you will have your own product offering, and that's one of the main reasons why you would have started your company, and you would have your USP. So that would be the messaging and positioning statement. But identifying this micro segment would definitely help you build the customer base, at the same time also build your product as well. So the reason why I don't suggest SMBs is for the one reason that you mentioned: they churn easily, they buy very fast, and they churn very fast as well, right? So if you look at your 1 year report, you would see that, okay, they only stick for like 6-7 months, and then you get into that treadmill of just catering, bringing more SMBs, catering to them churning out, and at one point it doesn't make a lot of sense for you from a marketing standpoint, because you bleed a lot and there is no direct ROI. So this segment is like, hey, they've established some fit, and they're coming to you because you probably have a good USP, and more importantly, you give them the hands-on support that they need and they deserve. Enterprise is, as you said, it's a really slow game, because there are a lot of forces that come into play in the form of finance, in the form of sourcing, and there are a lot of questions asked.
So on the upmarket part, which is a
Yeah,
focus
yeah,
market
yeah,
enterprise,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
mentioned as social giant. What's the marketing mix there, right? Especially in B2B SaaS. And I'm
yeah,
assuming
yeah,
how sitting in India as a marketer influence that TG, because often people are like, yeah, do ads, you know,
yeah,
put some money on that. But I don't know if enterprises would
yeah.
be excited by something like that. So if you could,
That's right.
is there any marketing strategy used for these big tickets?
The channels are still going to be the same. It's going to be LinkedIn, it's going to be your Google search, right? But I mean, unfortunately, the cliched answer is that you need to do it right. You need to show them the right ads, right? And it can't be just the generic ad that you show someone, that you show an SMB, and then it can't be the same ad. So you need to sort of bring them down the funnel. So the main platform that we use is LinkedIn. It's called, I mean, the strategy that we use is ABM, which is account based marketing, wherein we select a set of accounts that we want to go after. And for that particular function, that inside marketing, their goal is to bring in leads and generate pipeline only from those particular set of accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the inbound motion that focuses, that's more catch all, right? Like whoever comes in with intent, we sort of catch them.
So how is ABM different? So when you're saying you are creating a list of accounts to target, so does this mean you are creating what, one is to one personalized communication?
So we do one is to one, one is to few, and one is to many, and that's how we we track engagement. So we start with a more catch-all one-to-many campaign. We track engagement. We see mid or high level engagement. We put them in a cohort and then we start targeting them. We also target based on the the company's industry. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, if you're going just to target D2C companies, right, that would be a particular cohort, so that we can have ads that talk about their problems, right? So just to give you an example, a lot of D2C companies face issues in sending WhatsApp messages,
Mm-hmm.
because the way that you need to configure it is really difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we won't directly go and pitch our product. We'll just try and have a very top of the funnel messaging saying, hey, you know what, this is a problem, and of either a video explainer of how people can solve for it, not necessarily with Plivo, or a set of ads called carousel ads. It's more of a story on either make it funny or just make it intuitive and saying that, hey, here is the step 1 2 3 4, or talking more about how much people are spending there and how much people are bleeding across industries, and how can we offer a solution, in the sense like there is like a lot of steps that you have to go through, but if you do this 1 2 3, it would be very easy for you to ensure that you don't have to across the loops to make this a really difficult experience. So yeah, and given that we target a lot of engineers, we also do write a lot of content on SEO. They like blogs rather than consuming video content, or at least the majority of engineers like to consume blogs and like to consume a lot of technical data. But that would be more catch-all. It's not very specific to these set
Right.
of accounts.
So just on the ABM bit, so
Yeah,
let's say you pick D2C as a segment, and you say
yeah,
links or SMS, sorry, is a problem
yeah,
statement, and you
yeah,
create top of the funnel content,
yeah.
infotainment kind of a content. How is this different from traditional marketing? Are you saying that this is made specifically for an account, or are you saying it's specifically made for 10 accounts? Like, what do you mean by
it's
ABM?
it's specifically made for 10 accounts. So there's
Okay.
something called SMS pumping fraud. So what people do is, especially in Nigeria and all of that, they just create a lot of random accounts in products just to spam the company and either blackmail them, or
Mhm.
to misuse them if it's a social media platform.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like this is when he came and took over Twitter, Reddit,
And you target
Discord,
them through ads.
ads like these, right, which are
But
more
then
which
how do you
more top.
target per company? That I think only LinkedIn allows you. So that's why LinkedIn
Only
is the
LinkedIn
primary channel.
allows. There are other tools, but again, it's the way they collect the data. I don't
Is a
know. I
little
mean,
shady.
it's definitely shady. That's one. But they say that, hey, we ended up targeting these companies, but there's no way for you to verify that those were the people who are shown ads.
So basically, and very interesting. So you create, let's say these are the 20 companies I want to hire. You form
Yeah,
a hypothesis that this is their biggest need. You launch this
correct.
one for
Yeah,
custom segment.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Very interesting. So this is essentially account-based marketing. And
This is account-based marketing. Yeah.
why is this better than like just
Okay.
throwing ads and a catch-all
Uh,
system?
Yeah, because on the other side, we have our sales folks, or our sales development representatives, SDRs. They are reaching out to them through cold email. So we essentially provide, it's more of a sales led motion, is what I'd like to assume. And we provide more air cover so that when they knock on their doors, either physically or through emails, they at least know about Plivo, or the right audience know about Plivo.
So
Yeah.
basically, before as a sales guy write a cold email to Vignesh, he's already
Yeah.
seen an ad of mine which I have tracked. Very interesting. How do you do all this tracking? Like, are there any preferred toolkits you would like to recommend?
So LinkedIn offers, so you create the audience, you put it on LinkedIn, and you start showing ads. It gives you engagement level data on how every company is engaged, not at a user level. And then you can use Google Analytics. There's a tool called Clearbit, which de-anonymizes people who come to your website at a company level. So it would not say Kavan from Indifilio visited Plivo.com, but it would say Indifilio, right? There
Hmm.
was a visit from Indifilio. So that's how we connect the dots. And our SDR teams are working out of other tools, right? Like there's a tool called Outreach, which is used for sending cold emailers. So then we track engagement there, whether people have opened it, clicked it, etc. right? So we connect all the dots, and then we see the engagement, and of course the hero is people signing up from that company, and that's the most important thing that we look at. And more importantly, them having a need, and a pipeline which is created, meaning they've just put their hand up. Lead is just they've put their hand up saying, I want to know more. A pipeline is, when they have this problem, they tell you that this is what I'm going through. I'm looking for a solution, and this is the expected amount that I'm willing to spend. And yeah, that's when a pipeline is created. So for larger companies, as I said, it's a 9 to 12 month process that goes on. So that's why I feel it should not be the only sales motion or marketing motion that you should have.
Correct.
Because after 12 months, there's a huge probability of them. It's 50-50, right? Like them just
Right.
saying, going with another vendor, we don't have budget.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
warms person.
it's more of an air cover, is what I would like to
Air
put
cover
it.
is a good way
You
to
air
put it.
cover, yeah. You provide air cover to your sales books.
I want to now ask you about content creation. I think
Hmm.
let's take an example like ABM you mentioned. And I'm constantly seeing like in SaaS and B2B marketing, personalized content, industry content is something which really works. But it adds a lot of pressure to then create all these various kinds of items, right? I mean, obviously it's easy that I'll go and I'll make one deck and I'll make one brochure and one landing page and everybody will love it, but that never
Yeah,
happens.
that
You have to
never.
end up segmenting it. The more you grow, the more you segment it, right? Is from what I understand. So, how do you deal with such content creation pressure? Do you do this in house? Do you have a outsourced team? Is it a hybrid?
It it definitely can't be 100% in house. It definitely has to be hybrid, given the scale of content that's required. So we just hired Caleb Friesen. He runs this YouTube channel called Backstage with Millionaires, right? Which
Yeah.
subscribers. So now he's part of my team, and he runs some video content as well, because video is everything, right? Like we can't say that enterprise companies, people don't see videos. It's not like that. They're still humans. They still consume a lot of video, and we've seen videos to have a lot of reach and engagement. At the same time, we it can't be just him and his team doing multiple videos, right?
Mhm.
So we definitely look at a very hybrid model. And how we arrive at these topics, I think one great tool for that is Google Keyword Planner, or there's this tool called Ahrefs, right? Like
Mhm.
it gives you what people are actually looking for,
Mhm.
right, in terms of the searches that they're doing on Google.
Correct.
If they're looking for a particular topic, and if the volume is high, so we use that to create. That's one of the tools that we go to see where there is demand, and then we try and create content around that, not just videos or not just blogs, but also even the ads, right? And also the customer data that I was talking about, wherein we listen to all of these recordings. I'm not doing that right now, but in my previous company, this is how we used to do. We used to get the pain points, and those pain points, we used to collate them and aggregate them. And it's very important to aggregate and then get a good number or a proxy, which we could use to say that, okay, you know what, this is something that we can go after, which could do well, or which could resonate with the problems that our customers are facing. So that's how we gauge demand and take topics for content.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. How do you decide what to outsource and what to do in house?
Most of the in-house things are mid-funnel and bottom-funnel content, because as being a fairly complicated product, you need to have been in the system for at least 6 months for you to exactly understand what our products are capable of.
Mhm.
Hey, why is an SMS API required? Could be a type of content which could be outsourced, which does not need the amount of product knowledge. It's more about why a particular problem is there, and why a solution for that is required.
So you
So that's
basically
how we
come up
look at
with
it.
the insight key. This is what we should make based on the trends data. And
Yeah,
then while you do MOFU and BOFU internally, the top of the
yeah,
funnel content, which probably I'm assuming you want it to be done in a certain way, attractive, you probably go to an expert. So are these
correct,
like
100%.
articles or these are videos or what are you making?
This industry is more text heavy, or that's how it's been, right? Like, I don't want to say
Correct.
that again, but video is what is working right now. So we're moving slowly towards video, but It's more of an 80-20 split. So it's more like textual. So when we say content, I know you're from Mumbai, right? Like for you, content is more video or something. In our world, it's just a blog,
Right.
right? So that's it's a blog, or a documentation,
Understood.
how to configure a product.
These guides and playbooks and a repository of like an academy. How do you bucket them? Like, are these top of the funnel activities, or are they something else?
Academy is definitely top of the funnel. I think guide cheat sheets are good, but I would like to think they're more mid funnel, or the way that we do it. So top of the funnel, yeah, we look at, so there's something called programmatic SEO. So which is like, you're able to make a lot of content in a very programmatic way, in a very automated way as well. Just to give an example from our world, it could be like there are multiple SMS codes, right, that engineers use. So the backend part of it, about like 100. So we just go and create a glossary for that. It's very easy. It's not very difficult for us to go ahead and do that. Like, just, and there's a lot of content already there. So you
Right.
just need to mix and match this. So those are great and easy top of the funnel activities.
A lot of founders of studios, a lot of creative people also tune into the podcast. We are a network of
Got
a
it.
large pool of creative people. So there's been a huge demand, for video, as you said,
Yeah.
and to impress upon these marketeers or SaaS founders, primarily because, as you said, it's more technical, it's more software. While these folks are traditionally great with like organic content and writing fun scripts and amazing ideas. So in India, like, what would be your advice to these creative agencies, right, who want to, let's say, tap into the whole B2B SaaS marketing wave, where a lot of interesting things I believe are happening in India? How can they, if they're a traditional performance marketing or a content creation agency, how can they, you know, change themselves so they are able to impress a B2B marketer like you?
The idea is to not make the content 100% fun, because again, it's more of a very enterprisey concept where people are making decisions for their company and they don't want to screw up, right? So I feel the content need not be very very funny in nature, but again, what we lack is that fun quotient, right? And I feel, and it needs to be a good marriage between the marketer and the agency, right, wherein the marketer could bring in the tech knowledge of the product, and agencies, especially in Mumbai, right? Like, I've seen a couple of them, they work really well. I think one agency did a great ad for Zoho.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, and the I think the USP that they brought in was they hired foreign actors who were based out of Mumbai. So to keep the costs low for
Right.
all companies that are focusing on global markets sitting out of India,
Right.
if we hire an agency in Europe, that's going to be really, really
Yeah.
expensive for us. What I would like to accept is we lack that uber creative mindset. It's
Mhm.
more, as I said, numbers and revenue, and
Right.
very bottom funnel focused. And it's equally important for us to focus on the top funnel. So marriage of fun,
Sure.
creativity, and the product would be the right place.
So from what I understand, I think creativity will be the differentiator, because I think that's one
100%.
thing you're
Yeah.
looking to solve for because you don't have that
Yeah.
internally. But I believe context could be important. So as you mentioned, those trends tools, if they're able to really understand, hey, this is what this customer segment wants, I believe that could be a differentiator where how can I
Exactly.
creatively talk about these topics, which my TG is looking for, or maybe what Plivo's TG is looking for. I believe doing that as an exercise could be helpful. Do you think so?
100%. Yeah, that's exactly. I think you articulated it really well. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad. I think now I want to, move into content creation and AI.
Okay.
I mean, it's everywhere. I'm very sure if you already don't have one, even you will have one.
Yeah.
AI bit coming up. All products are getting so integrated with, GPTs.
Mhm.
I really wonder what it would mean for content creation. Like this already something like a programmatic SEO. There are these
Yeah.
content engines where it'll help you find the topic, it'll write the article for you, it'll publish
Yeah.
it on your blog, and it'll help you track it. all without a huge team of creative people powering it. So
Yeah.
how do you think AI will transform this content creation engine for B2B companies, and what would that mean for the internal creative teams and these agencies who support the entire ecosystem today?
I think it's not going to die so soon, because hey, it's been a year and a half, right, since ChatGPT came, and I haven't seen like major disruption. Like, people are in,
Right,
like, that's where it's
correct.
heading, right? Like, my name is Vignesh versus I'm Vignesh. Those are essentially the same thing. What I feel is it can't be used to create a lot of stuff. Creating multiple pieces of content that aren't where you don't need to use your creative mind, an AI could do a job. For example, there is a tool called Hagen. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Mhm.
What it essentially does is, it takes in your video as input, and then your hand gestures and all of that. It records that, and the content that you put in, it automatically creates a video out of it, right? So that could be a good tool for us to use to create multiple videos, wherein our product has, say, 100 features, and we have to have explainer videos of people who sign up and who start using, wherein creativity need not be the number one focus. They just are looking for, hey, I'm here in the product now, how do I go about this product? And more how to type of content is something that it can be used. And similarly, from a blog textual content standpoint, SMS codes, like, I have a list of 100 codes, I just need like 100 pieces of content. I'm not too keen, like, I can do minor tweaks and, to ensure that our brand language is followed, right? But again, creating an overall top of the funnel content is really, really important. That we're gonna put on the homepage, right? Like, where maximum people come, or we're gonna show our prospects. I'm not too convinced that we need to go the AI route, and we still need to put our heads together and create that really great creative piece of content. Else, we won't have the cred ads if it's just AI, right? Someone needs to think about it.
Right.
And in terms of scope, B2B SaaS, there's like huge scope for new things to come in.
Correct.
And I feel people are also looking for it. It's just that,
Correct.
yeah, there is no
I
connection that's
believe
happening.
so. I think as you've rightly put, I believe creating new information will always remain with us. But I believe synthesizing what we already
Yeah,
have, you can't really beat AI. So if your job's not doing new,
yeah,
it's probably scary. Just to
yeah.
follow up there, right now there's a healthy balance of in-house versus outsourcing. Do you feel that with these tools advancing so rapidly, would you expect your in-house team to be experts of, let's say, a Hagen, or would you expect a Hagen agency to work with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it all depends on the number of things that are there on their plates, right? But yeah, I think a tool like Hagen probably could be done in house rather than having an agency. I think that's the point that they're trying to make.
Right.
If it's very particular to Hagen, then yes, I would probably want someone in house to pick it up. Yeah,
Is the marketer or the in-house marketing team going to focus more on strategy and insights and customer, or will they then be expected to expand their skill set to also content creation? Because one of those two things can happen, right? Is,
got it,
oh,
got it.
there is a tool to do hundreds of videos in a day. Get somebody to get it done for you, or and focus now on your strat. Or hey, you can make 100 videos a day now, we don't need an agency. Also, you do everything now, you become a one
Yeah.
man marketer for a marketing company. So what I wanted to
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, I think that's what people in the valley are talking about, right? Like, one man company scaling it to $1 billion with AI. My thought process is slightly mixed,
Mhm.
where I feel if you're starting out and if you want to ensure that you cover, like, you have a website, like, you have a product explainer video, and then you have some collateral to run ads, I think using AI would be a great start, because there's not a lot of money. Or if you're like a very lean team, but again, as the company grows, I think, as I said, the content that's more scalable can be given to tools like Hage and likewise, where they could come in and they could build things on top of that. But again, the core important things, even in terms of execution, right? I mean, strategy, insights are all good, but again, if you don't execute, then you don't get the money. So the core execution of, say, more important things need to definitely be in-house. And of course, by in-house, I mean, an agency. With an agency, you're tying up with an agency and then work.
Right. Got it. Awesome. I'll just move to the last question now. We are almost at our time. So,
Yeah.
a big dream for a lot of companies, who are just starting out in SaaS, especially, is to create an international brand, have an international clientele. And there is very good advice that if you want to be a US first market product, start with that. Don't think, I'll do India and then I'll get into MENA and then I'll do USA. It
Mm.
needs to happen differently. So if I am a 0 to 1 company, right? I'm not Plivo yet. I have very limited resources. I probably am a founder trying to do marketing as well. So if I'm doing 0 to 1 and I want to do an international go to market, what are the first few things I should do to get customers to me?
I think it's website should be your number one lead gen tool, and you need to make your product accessible to everybody. So what I think you would have heard of product led growth, right? So
Right.
comes in looking for something, give them access to the product, give them a free trial so that they can ensure that things are working. So ensuring that this whole customer journey is smooth is really really important. That is from the time they discover you to the time they sign up and to the time they start using products, have very very minimal hurdles, right? I've seen a lot of companies have like 15 fields, 15 field forms, right? Like asking for a lot of pointless information. So yeah, I think that is from a customer journey standpoint and making it easy. I would say focus on SEO with a combination of Google Ads, right? Because this way you immediately get high intent folks who are looking for something. And SEO definitely takes sometimes 6-7 months for you to build. So having a combination of this would definitely help. So first you could go more on paid and Google Ads, and then claw back. So this is one way for you if you don't know anybody in the US, right? And you're new. I think this is a tested and proven way, and it still works, right? So it's just that the amount of money that you need to initially put is slightly on the higher side. But then, as I said, you can find micro segments, micro niches, and then go for that, so that you don't spend high, and at the same time you're building this content machine. And I think what's working right now, one of the great things that's working right now is organic social, especially on LinkedIn, right? Like, so that again, highlighting the problem statements and having a very very new angle to it definitely works. There are a lot of tools right now, their founders are on LinkedIn. It's more influencer led. That's happening, and LinkedIn has a great reach as well,
Right.
even organically speaking. So yeah,
Got it.
more predictable I would say is SEO and Google Ads.
Right.
uh, a little where there's a lot of effort needed would be LinkedIn.
Got it. Got it. I think the first point is something I fully resonate with, where I think if you are able to just create a landing page, which
Yeah.
that is what they need to optimize for in the year one, because I
Yeah.
remember I started a landing page, we changed the communications in 6 times in the year. Because every time I
Mhm.
spoke to 10 more customers, they were like, oh, but this is what you do, right? Oh, but this is why I like in the start, even if it's just a few people, that's
Yeah.
fine. As long as it's high intent, as you said.
Yeah.
Great, Vignesh. This brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me, Kavan.
Awesome. And for everybody who's stuck along so far, if you'd like to hear another marketing leader like Vignesh, please like, share, and subscribe. We'll have another episode coming out very, very soon. Thank you so much.